here at the Oil Council in Paris. I'm joined by the CEO of Ophir Energy, Nick Cooper. We've talked a lot over the years about the challenges facing the industry. You're involved in a variety of areas: Thailand, Indonesia, Tanzania, and also in Africa. And Africa really, it seems at the moment, is where your main focus is. Tell us about it.
That's right. The company started in Africa. We're about 11 years old now, and until in fact last year we were exclusively an African company. We found that a lot of our partners for African opportunities were coming from Asia, so we've spread a little bit eastwards in that regard. But our main assets remain in Tanzania and Equatorial Guinea, where we've been part of finding an awful lot of gas for both countries and their populations, and where we're part of 2 LNG projects, both quite different in their characteristics.
Now, looking at the Equatorial Guinea, I mean, you've got a rather interesting floating solution for LNG. Tell us about that.
Well, this has been talked about by the industry for about 10 to 15 years now as an alternative to a conventional terrestrial LNG plant. And different circumstances lend themselves to different solutions, but in what we found in Equatorial Guinea is we had the options of either a conventional project with effectively a liquefaction train on the beach. Indeed, there's already a conventional project there operated by Marathon. So there was the potential to double the size of that, or to have a floating solution. Now, because of the circumstances that we found ourselves in Equatorial Guinea, there were a lot of things that made it much more economically attractive for the government and for ourselves to go with a floating solution. Very stable seas, so problems with boat-to-boat handling and offloading were non-existent. Very clean gas. We have pure methane. The gas comes out of the ground in Equatorial Guinea cleaner than it comes out of the pipe system here in Europe. So no processing of gas required, no handling of water, no handling of condensate. So it greatly simplifies the design, and effectively we've got a liquefaction train on a boat, almost a fridge on a boat with some offloading facilities. So when you look at that and the phasing of the capex, it was just a much more economically attractive solution for us and the government than a conventional project.
And also, you've just got this appointed Golar as a midstream partner.
Yes.
I mean, what do they bring to the party?
So Golar's job is to design, build and operate the boat, the FLNG vessel, which effectively is an old tanker, an LNG tanker that's come towards the end of its economic life as a tanker, as a seaborne vessel, and effectively now we will convert it, very much like in an oil sense an FPSO system would be, an old oil tanker. It gets converted to a production system. It's exactly the same for gas. This old LNG tanker will have some additional measures to widen its beam and put additional kit on the deck, and Golar will undertake that for us. In exchange for that, we'll pay a tolling fee.
So what next? I mean, over the next few months, more developments? What are they?
On that project specifically, we are moving as fast as we can to progress this LNG project, because what we're finding is that at the moment, with the industry being in the doldrums, a lot of the other greenfield LNG projects around the world are being frozen, put on ice. And so we see there's a bit of a market opportunity to now sprint and get this project operational as soon as possible, and hopefully also take advantage of reducing services costs and construction costs through the way. And so what we're doing is we're moving very quickly into the feed. The midstream feed is largely completed, but we'll complete that, or Golar will complete that. On the upstream side, we'll be appointing in the next week or two the parties for the upstream feed. That'll get us to the formal investment decision, the FID, second quarter of next year. And this is all with a plan to have the boat operational by 2019, which is very fast for an LNG project.
What about Tanzania? You've got an LNG project there.
Yeah, so this is more of a conventional LNG project. So the liquefaction trains are going to be placed on the beach, and we are there partners with BG, soon to be Shell, we expect, and Pavilion, which is a Temasek company, government of Singapore. Our neighbours are Statoil and Exxon, so we've got a very high quality partner group, and that is developing a project of 3+ trains of LNG in Tanzania, which is in many ways a mirror image of what's happening in Mozambique, albeit slightly smaller. The project is moving forward. We are looking for the government to free up the land location for that, and it continues to move forward. Realistically, we expect first gas around 2022, 2023 for that one, but it's a more conventional project.
So a fair amount on your plate in both those countries, but you've also got, in terms of your cash, you've got quite a sizable cash pile, which you might think, well, I'm looking for places to invest. So where do you see the newer opportunities in Africa?
That's a good question. I think, look, with the industry in the doldrums, the amount of capital available to everybody, ourselves included, is reduced from before, and capital budgets have been reduced, and so people are exiting assets or slowing assets down. That does present a lot of opportunities for companies that are lucky enough to be better financed at this point going through the trough. And so we're not going to be hasty, but we have our eyes open for a couple of things, and the obvious thing for us as a resource finding company is high quality operated exploration footprints. And last year, since last we met, we've doubled our size, mostly with Asian assets, all operated, and we're looking to do the same, and we're looking at a lot of things in Africa at the moment. So obviously, forgive me if I don't say the countries we're looking at, but we are trying to be counter-cyclical at a time when a lot of people are retreating from exploration. We're trying to carefully put dollars to work. Not necessarily to be drilling this year, but to be providing the options for our shareholders so that we've got as high quality a portfolio and a drilling program as we have as the sector starts to turn.
All right, Nick Cooper, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for your time. Good to see you.